In 1887, a Victorian home was built on a Kansas hilltop. For over a century, not one person called it haunted. Then Atchison's Hill House opened to overnight investigators, and visitors began describing the same thing, an unseen force pinning them to the bed. No entity has ever been verified. What they describe matches a known medical condition almost exactly. So what turned this house into one of the most feared addresses in the Midwest? The Hill House stands atop its bluff in Atchison, Kansas, a testament to the ambitions of the late 19th century. Construction began in 1887, commissioned by John A. Hill, a riverboat captain who had built his fortune on the Missouri. The house was designed in the Queen Anne style, with a wraparound porch, gabled roof, and intricate woodwork that signaled prosperity. Deed records and Sanborn fire maps confirm the property's original footprint and its evolution. A kitchen wing added in 1900, a partial interior remodel in 1937, and the slow loss of its ornate front porch by mid-century. Ownership passed from the Hill family to William T. Morrison in 1902, then to Emma Carpenter through probate in 1918. Each transfer recorded in county ledgers and probate files. Census rolls through the 1940s list the house as a family residence, then a boarding house, and finally vacant after a 1945 mortgage default. Tax assessments show a sharp drop in value by the 1950s, mirroring the city's economic downturn. By 1972, the city itself acquired the property through tax foreclosure, citing safety concerns over a failing roof and cracked foundation. Photographs from the Atchison County Historical Society reveal the house's slow transformation from its original symmetry to the gradual loss of detail and the addition of vinyl siding. Throughout these decades, newspaper archives and oral histories remain silent on any mention of hauntings or unexplained events. The early story of Hill House is one of aspiration, decline, and survival, with no hint of the supernatural reputation that would later define its name. By the mid-1990s, Atchison's fortunes had shifted from river commerce to something far less tangible. In 1995, the Chamber of Commerce launched the Haunted Atchison Trolley Tours, offering guided rides through the city's historic streets. The trolley was more than a sightseeing bus. It was the backbone of a new identity, branded with the tagline, "The most haunted town in Kansas." City officials and tourism leaders leaned into the narrative, weaving ghost stories into brochures, event calendars, and even municipal permit incentives. The Sally House became the flagship, its notoriety drawing the first waves of paranormal tourists. But the strategy did not stop with one address. Over time, the haunted itinerary expanded to include the McIntyre Villa, the Gargoyle House, and, increasingly, the Hill House itself. Haunted infrastructure grew in step with demand. The city's tourism office began operating events directly, scheduling shocktail parties and overnight stays that blurred the line between entertainment and investigation. By 2021, haunted tourism accounted for nearly 2/3 of all visitor traffic, with trolley tickets selling out weeks in advance and hotel occupancy peaking each October. The City Council passed ordinances to streamline permits for ghost tours, and property owners received support to meet safety codes. In this ecosystem, the Hill House was transformed from a neglected relic into a destination, its legend shaped as much by economic momentum as by whispers in the dark. In October 2015, a quiet policy change at Hill House set the stage for a new kind of notoriety. For the first time, the doors were open to overnight bookings, allowing anyone with curiosity and a willingness to sign a waiver to spend the night inside. The house's official calendar, captured in archived web snapshots, advertised overnight investigations for $129 a night, making clear that this was no longer just a historic property but an immersive experience. The provenance of the haunting label once whispered among local tour guides, now became a marketable feature, stamped directly onto the booking page. Within weeks, the first wave of investigators arrived, armed with cameras, EMF meters, and a hunger for evidence. Early uploads to YouTube and Facebook documented not just late-night vigils, but sudden, violent claims. Doors slamming without warning, heavy furniture shifting inches across the floor, and a chandelier swinging in an empty room. Clips from these nights quickly spread, drawing thousands of views and fueling a new digital folklore. The house's reputation, once a footnote in Atchison's haunted tour circuit, began to spread far beyond Kansas. Property management maintained a hands-off stance, requiring only a signed waiver and a brief safety walkthrough. From that point on, guests were left alone with the house and their expectations. This combination, open access, minimal oversight, and the promise of an unfiltered experience, became the catalyst for the legend that followed. Pinned encounters have become the most unsettling thread in the Hill House legend. Dozens of overnight guests, many with cameras rolling, describe waking in the master bedroom between 2 and 4 in the morning, unable to move a muscle. The sensation is almost always the same: a crushing pressure on the chest, arms frozen, breath shallow, and a paralyzing certainty that something unseen is holding them down. In one documented case from October 2017, a guest named Emily is filmed staring wide-eyed at the ceiling, her breathing quick and shallow, whispering that it feels like a heavy blanket is pressing her into the mattress. The sensation lasts just over a minute before she bolts upright, shaken but unharmed. Other visitors recount similar episodes: a cold, oily grip on the forearm, the sense of a hand at the throat, or a sudden drop in temperature that leaves skin prickling. Some investigators report hearing faint whispers, one captured on audio as a drawn-out stay, while others recall the room filling with the scent of ozone. Despite the drama, no medical emergencies have been recorded, and none of the participants have produced hospital records confirming physical harm. Sleep experts point to a well-known explanation: isolated sleep paralysis. This phenomenon, common in the early morning hours, produces vivid sensations of pressure, immobility, and even hallucinations of a presence in the room. Dr. Robert Shaw of the University of Kansas notes that the Hill House episodes cluster within the typical REM awakening window, and that the fear-soaked environment, darkness, and group anxiety can all intensify these experiences. The architecture itself, old wood, drafty halls, and echoing chambers, may amplify every creak and chill, feeding a cycle where expectation and fear become inseparable from what is felt on the bed. Investigators often describe Hill House as responsive, recounting sessions where knocks seem to answer direct questions. A single tap for yes, two for no, or a series of raps matching the syllables of a name. In the most cited videos, a question is posed in the dark, silence hangs, and then a sharp knock echoes from the hallway. Yet the standard for evidence in paranormal research demands more than these dramatic moments. No Hill House session to date has produced a fully synchronized set of recordings, audio, video, and environmental data, captured with time-stamped devices and independently verified. The most circulated clips lack a shared time code or a continuous, unbroken chain of custody. Without these controls, it becomes impossible to rule out ordinary causes, a floorboard shifting, a draft, or even an investigator's own nervous movement. Forensic checklists call for synchronized multi-device recording, environmental baselines, and independent review. But such protocols have not been met at Hill House. The burden of proof remains heavy. In the absence of rigorously documented reproducible events, the so-called intelligent responses remain compelling stories, unverified, uncorroborated, and open to interpretation. Acoustic testing inside the Hill House reveals how easily ordinary sounds become amplified and distorted. An acoustician working with calibrated microphones demonstrates that a single knock in the upstairs corridor echoes as a series of sharp raps, bouncing down the hallway and into adjacent rooms. Even a quiet footstep can trigger a chain of reverberations, creating the illusion of movement where none exists. Drafts snake through gaps in the floorboards and window frames, producing sudden cold spots that can chill a room by several degrees in minutes. Thermal imaging shows plumes of cold air descending the central staircase at night, matching visitor reports of icy patches that appear without warning. A structural engineer maps the house's airflow and finds that the original central chimney acts as a conduit, channeling gusts from the attic to the bedrooms. These drafts, combined with the building's age and settling frame, explain why doors sometimes slam or furniture shifts unexpectedly. The physical environment primes the senses for unease. On the psychological front, a cognitive scientist surveys overnight guests before and after their stays. 40% arrive expecting a paranormal encounter, a figure that aligns with research on suggestion and anticipation in haunted environments. In the darkness, group fear spreads quickly. One person's gasp or nervous laugh can escalate into shared panic, fueling a cycle where expectation and anxiety color every creak and chill. The house becomes a stage for fear, each sensation amplified by the mind's readiness to find meaning in the unknown. Tonight, the house stands silent, its secrets unverified, its legends fueled by darkness and expectation. In a world where fear can rewrite reality, sleep paralysis becomes a modern haunting. The line between entity and imagination blurs. What we bring into the dark may be far more powerful than anything we find there.